There were selected people who had abilities and were fighting the Aramitama creatures, and they are called lay masters. One of them was Yukito, the son of the best-known lay master. When he was 5 years old, the volcano erupted near the island where they lived. For this reason, all the residents were forced to evacuate in a safe place. Together with one of his father's students, named Jinji, they ran to the dock. While his father, along with his 2 other students, named Haruaki and Ibuki, they went to face the fire dragon that was causing the eruption of the volcano. But due to the injuries that Haruaki and Ibuki suffered, Makoto sent them back. Yukito did not know that it would be the last day that he would see his father alive. From his father's request, he was taken in an orphanage on the mainland to keep him away from Ayaka Island. 10 years later, and a few days before his middle school graduation, he received a letter from Ayaka's mayor, named Inu. When he fell asleep, he once again dreamed the same thing, that he was in the depths of the water. After a while, someone pulled him, so he suddenly woke up. The day of his graduation came, and as he was leaving school, he saw a drunk man in the area and other students were staring at this man's weird behavior. When the man saw Yukito, he immediately approached him. It turned out to be Jinji, who came to pick him up to bring him back to Ayaka. Since he did not remember him, he denied that he was Yukito and left him. Jinji just continued to follow him, and when they reached the bridge, he suddenly pushed Yukito into the river. After this, Yukito was able to use his power, but he could not control it yet, so Jinji took action to stop him. From the power that he showed, it was the moment that Jinji confirmed that he was indeed Yukito, so he used the other way and forced to take Yukito to Ayaka Island. When he regained consciousness, he was on a boat and headed to the second island of Ayaka, where he would stay. Jinji appeared and introduced himself to Yukito again, and mentioned that he used to be his father's student. When they arrived at the second island, they were greeted by Amamiya and Inu. After introducing themselves to Yukito, they went straight to his residence. When they got home, Yukito saw a photo of him with his father when he was a child. According to Amamiya, his father was known as a good lay master. Since he had no idea about a lay master, Jinji said that these were the people who possessed unique abilities. After hearing it, he got an idea about his ability. When he asked about his mother, there was no answer from them, but Jinji told him that his father just came there with him one day. After their conversation, Yukito went to his room, and when he opened the window, a creature suddenly entered that according to Jinji was called a Mitama. Since Jinji also noticed that Yukito seemed to be avoiding them, Jinji asked him what was the reason. At that moment, Yukito told the story of what happened when he was a child. One day, another boy bullied him while they were in the river. In his anger, he did not realize that the river's water was already attacking the boy. When he saw this, that was when he suddenly lost consciousness. After that, there were several times that he had accidentally done this, so he started avoiding people. He thought that Jinji was listening to him, he got upset and decided to take some fresh air outside. After a while, he noticed the Mitama fell into the stream, and when he approached it, it suddenly appeared in a different form. When it attacked, Jinji quickly saved him. Jinji said that it was an Aramitama that attacked him, and was a dangerous type of creature. Jinji used his power to attack it and it quickly disintegrated. But it was not dead yet, so Jinji thought of throwing Yukito inside its stomach. In Yukito's anger at what Jinji did to him, he activated his power that caused the complete defeat of the Aramitama. Then the water came straight at Jinji, but he easily blocked it. Jinji found out that Yukito just could not control his power, that's why he was afraid of it. So he told Yukito that he would train with him so that he could also learn how to control his powers. Haruaki also found out about Yukito's return to Ayaka Island, and Ibuki felt it too. Jinji and Yukito immediately started the training. One morning, Jinji caught Yukito training alone. This time he explained to Yukito about ley energy. After he explained it to him, he asked Yukito to try what he taught him the other day. Yukito tried it and successfully made some of water to float, but it quickly exploded. Because of this, Jinji had shown him how he controlled the water. Then he left again and let Yukito train alone. One day, Haruaki's 2 students, named Shaduru and Yako, got a request. Yako decided that he would do the request that they got, but Shaduru did not agree because he also wanted to do it. So he tried to grab the request, but Jinji took it from them. He told them that it would be him and Yukito who would do the request as part of Yukito's training. When he introduced Yukito to them, the two learned that he was the son of their master's master. So when Jinji and Yukito left, they quickly returned to the shrine to inform their master. Because of this, Haruaki found out that Yukito was currently training under Jinji's guidance. Meanwhile, Jinji and Yukito immediately went to the river which was referred in the request. Just a few moments when they got there, the Aramitama also appeared to them. But because it was bigger than the one that they fought before, Jinji quickly ran away. So Yukito immediately followed him, but the Aramitama caught up with them. They managed to hide from it, but after a while, it also found them quickly. It attacked Jinji, so he quickly ran and left Yukito again. But it was only attacking Jinji, so it was here that Yukito had a chance to attack the creature. He was able to knock it down, so Jinji also used his power to attack it again. But it was not completely defeated, and when the water formation got up again, Jinji realized that this was the one he had sent out the other day, and he had forgotten it because he was so drunk. The Aramitama joined it and attacked him again. After a few moments, Haruaki came there, and using his power, he quickly pacified the Aramitama. When he came down, he reprimanded Jinji for being a drinker. Then Yukito interrupted and thanked him as well. Haruaki approached him and picked him up like he used to do when Yukito was a child. He also introduced himself to him and gave him a candy. Then they went home, while Jinji was left in the river to pick up trash as a punishment for his negligence. Yukito and Haruaki discussed why Mitama became violent and turned to Aramitama. Haruaki said that it was because they were exposed to negative energy and lost control of their power. But he clarified and said that although the Mitama was not an ally of the people, they were not enemies either. As long as there's harmony, it was not impossible for people and these creatures to live together. One day, Jinji took Yukito to the first island. Yukito was in awe of what they were riding, which was called a marine liner. According to Jinji, that was also his reaction when he rode it for the first time. When they reached the first island, they went to Anu. They talked to him for a while, then they decided to go for a walk after that. While they were walking, Yukito stopped when he noticed a street performer. But he was surprised when Jinji suddenly disappeared from his side. After a few moments, the ball which was used by the performer suddenly floated in the air. It turned into an Aramitama, so he immediately saved the performer. Then he prepared to fight it, but it suddenly attacked him. Fortunately, Ibuki came there to save him. Ibuki quickly killed it, and Yukito was surprised that Ibuki seemed to have a strange way of pacifying the Aramitama. After Ibuki found out that he was Yukito, he took him to his office. When they came to the area, he did not expect that Jinji was also there. Yukito found out that Jinji would sometimes work with Ibuki whenever he visited there. Then Yukito and Ibuki discussed the method that Ibuki used earlier. Yukito was still thinking about this, because when he saw Haruaki after he pacified the Aramitama, the Mitama seemed at peace after that, but in Ibuki's way, he could no longer feel the Mitama's presence. Ibuki immediately replied to him that he was doing it because he wanted to kill it on purpose. Yukito did not agree with Ibuki's method because he believed that Ibuki could just purify it. But Ibuki also said that he could not change the fact that those creatures were still killing people. He added that there were always many tourists who would come there, and these people did not know anything about Ayaka Island, so they needed to ensure their safety. However, Yukito still would not accept Ibuki's method. Just a few moments later, Ibra came there to inform Ibuki that Taihei had tracked down the main body of the Aramitama that they fought earlier. That was the moment that Yukito found out that the Aramitama was not the same creature that Ibuki had killed earlier. It was because there was no core or the pupil and iris in the eyeball on the creature that they faced earlier, which was typical on an Aramitama. Jinji was about to come along, but Ibuki told him to take Yukito with him and they should go home. While the two were walking, they talked about the Ayaka security that Ibuki established. Jinji also warned Yukito not to mention Haruaki's name to Ibuki, and also Ibuki's name to Haruaki, because the relationship between these two was not good. Jinji suddenly remembered that he still had not gotten his allowance from Ibuki, so he hurried back to him. Yukito continued walking, and after a while, he suddenly heard an explosion. He immediately went to see the situation, and when he got there, he saw Taihei who was busy evacuating the civilians. Yukito told him that he was also a lay master, so he immediately continued to reach the Aramitama's location. He used his power to attack it, but it did not work. The other members of Ayaka security came there, then rained bullets on Aramitama, and Jinji also with them. When their leader came, Ibuki used his arbiter's executioner. Jinji said that it was black magic, and Ibuki would absorb the power of Aramitama. When the Aramitama rushed at him, Ibuki was able to stop it and grabbed its core, causing the creature to die immediately. It turned out that Ibuki wanted to be stronger than Haruaki, his master, and even from the dragon. Then he drank the blood that was coming from the eyes of the Aramitama. Yukito wondered when Ibuki mentioned about the dragon. A few days later, they went to the third island. Haruaki's Kaisen shrine was located on this island, and they planned to visit it because Yukito requested to see him. When they arrived there, Shadoro and Yako greeted them. They got to the shrine, and Shadoro mentioned that the Kaisen shrine was dedicated to the dragon gods of water and fire. The two also told him about the fourth island where the two dragons were living. Because of what they said, Yukito remembered the dragon that Ibuki mentioned. A few moments later, Haruaki also came to meet them. While the others were bathing in the hot spring, Haruaki talked to Yukito. Yukito immediately mentioned his meeting with Ibuki the other day. He also told him about Ibuki's method to the Aramitama. Haruaki asked him how much he knew about the ley energy. When he answered this based on what Jinji taught him, Haruaki thought to teach Yukito in order to expand his knowledge about it. Then he asked Yukito to close his eyes, and asked him to try and feel the ley energy around him. He quickly felt it, and as he dived into its depths, he was stopped when Haruaki touched his shoulder. Haruaki suddenly noticed something in him, as if he could something strange about him. When Amitama passed by, Yukito mentioned about Ibuki's action in drinking the blood of the Aramitama to make him even stronger. Haruaki said that if Ibuki continued what he was doing, it was possible that he would become like Aramitama. After they talked, he told Shadoro and Yako to take Yukito to their training ground. They wanted to get to know Yukito better because they were almost the same age. They also asked him to join them in their training with Haruaki. But Yukito thought of Jinji because he was the one teaching him and served as his master. Shadoro showed him how to make a tree grow quickly using the ley energy. Yako did not want to lose and showed what he could do too. Then they told Yukito to try it, and since he also learned something from Haruaki, he was confident that he could do it too. When he did the same, Shadoro and Yako could not believe that he had surpassed what they had done. Because the tree was still growing, he was told to stop, but Yukito could not stop it. Jinji went towards them and guided Yukito on how to control his power. After a few moments, Yukito successfully stopped the tree from growing. When Jinji left, Yukito was surprised by the reaction of Shadoro and Yako, because instead of being afraid of him, he did not expect them to be amazed by what he did. Although he knew that it would help him more if he trained with them, he still chose to train with Jinji. When they got home, Yukito trained again and was able to create a barrier. Jinji raised his hand and sat on the barrier that Yukito had created. A few moments later, he felt an earthquake. He suddenly had a strange reaction that made him lose his focus. The next morning, they felt the earthquake again. As they were talking, Jinji asked Amamiya for money, and because she immediately gave it to him, Yukito wondered what it was for. Jinji told Yukito that he wanted to visit Makoto's grave, and he took Yukito with him. When they got there, they cleaned the tombstone first, and then they put incense and wine. A few moments later, there were 3 old men who also came there to visit Makoto's grave. Yukito found out that they decided to visit after the sudden earthquake to thank his father for saving the Ayaka Island. Since he still could not remember what happened 10 years ago, Jinji decided to tell him about it. Jinji started the story about the fire and water dragon that Shadoro mentioned before. He said that the fire dragon was the reason why the earthquake occurred, and it was because of the continuous strengthening of its power. Strange things happened 15 years ago when the lake on the 4th island suddenly lost water supplies. For unknown reasons, the rival of the fire dragon or the water dragon also disappeared. Because of this, the balance between fire and water was lost, which caused the fire dragon to grow stronger. As a result, the volcano exploded on the 4th island, which would have submerged the islands of Ayaka. But it did not happen because of what Yukito's father did to pacify the fire dragon. Since then, Ayaka Island had been peaceful for a decade because of Makoto's heroism. They saw Ibara, who was about to leave. Jinji tried to invite her, but she just continued to walk away, and Jinji remembered why she visited the area too. That day was also the death anniversary of Ibara's parents. Yukito saw the key near the tomb, and they were sure that it belonged to Ibara. They took it and went to the first island to personally return it to her. While they were walking to reach the office of Ibuki, they saw Shadoro and Yako. According to them, they were assigned by Haruaki to observe the island because of several earthquakes. They had intended to go with Yukito, but when they found out that they were going to Ibara, the two changed their minds and quickly left. When they got to the office, they saw Ibuki and Taihei there. But Ibuki was about to leave, so he told Yukito to just be careful on their way home. After Taihei found out their reason for coming to their office, he called Ibara to come there. So a few minutes later, she came after the call. Yukito immediately returned the keys to her, and like him, she was also shy to other people. Suddenly, they felt an earthquake again, and Jinji was sure that it was a fire Aramitama. Because of this, Ibara quickly ran out to check it. They immediately followed her, and while Ibuki was talking to Inu, Taihei called him to inform him about the fire Aramitama. When they arrived to the area, they found a woman in the burning house. Jinji quickly saved her, and told Yukito to go ahead to chase after Ibara. While Shadoro and Yako went to the location of the fire Aramitama, they also saw Ibara heading towards it. When Ibara arrived at the location of the fire Aramitama, it immediately attacked her. She remembered again the fire Aramitama that killed her parents. Because of this, she rushed again and attacked the creature repeatedly. But it suddenly retaliated at her. Fortunately, Yukito came there and quickly blocked it. When he saw Yukito, she remembered the day when Ibuki saved her from the fire Aramitama. Yukito used the water hydrants and tried to attack the enemy. But it did not work. Then Shadoro and Yako arrived there too. The enemy attacked again, and Yukito once again blocked it. While Yukito was doing it, Ibara tried to attack the enemy again. The two of them fought, and Yukito also helped. But they have not beaten it yet, so Shadoro and Yako have decided to help too. The two of them attacked first, and it was quickly followed by Yukito and Ibara's attack. They noticed that the enemy was planning to run away, so they immediately stopped it. Then they attacked it again, and while it could not move, Ibara aimed at its eye. Because of their cooperation, they had successfully pacified it. But just a few minutes later, there were several fire Aramitamas that landed where they were. Yukito quickly created a barrier, so they survived an attack from one of the creatures. But the fire immediately surrounded them. In Yukito's desire to save his companions, the color of his eyes changed. Haruaki suddenly came there and quickly pacified the enemy who had released the fire. Ibuki also came and defeated another fire Aramitama as well. The two of them tried to attack the remaining enemy, but it was not immediately defeated. For this reason, Ibuki became interested in this fire Aramitama. He intended to eat the core of the Aramitama he defeated, but Haruaki immediately pacified it. In Ibuki's anger at Haruaki, they had an argument. When the enemy got up, Haruaki attacked it first and was followed by Ibuki, causing them to defeat it completely. Ibuki quickly approached its core, so Haruaki immediately stopped him. That was the moment when Ibuki decided to use his Arbiter's Executioner and blocked Haruaki's next attack. As he was about to take the core, Haruaki moved quickly to stop him. They continued to fight until Jinji came there and pacified the Aramitama. Then he told Haruaki and Ibuki to stop what they were doing because their respective students were watching them. They both calmed down and apologized to their students for their behavior. After a few hours, they gathered at the station while they waited for Shadoro and Haruaki. They talked about their fight with the fire Aramitama, and Yukito mentioned to Ibara that if there was an opportunity, he would like to work with her again. After hearing this, Ibara decided to give Yukito her contact information. Shadoro and Yako also exchanged contact information with Yukito and Ibara. When Yukito got home to the second island, he asked Amamiya what happened 10 years ago. A few days before the eruption of the volcano, Ibuki begged Makoto to allow Haruaki to lead the dragon pacifying ritual and said that he was willing to assist him. But according to Makoto, Haruaki was not ready for this yet. No matter how hard Ibuki tried to convince their master, Makoto still did not allow them, and they could not do anything about it. One night, they felt an earthquake again and Makoto seemed to know what it meant. Because of this, he decided to go to the mainland first to get weapons. Then he assigned Haruaki and Ibuki to watch over their area. After a few hours, they noticed that the Mitamas were acting strange. They had a hunch that the seal they put on the volcano might have weakened. They knew that the moment the fire dragon was released, it would surely cause severe damage to the entire Ayaka. Because of this, they could not think of any other way but to perform the dragon pacifying ritual and could not wait for Makoto to arrive. One of their acquaintances passed by to tell them to go to the dock because Inu had brought a big boat. So they assigned Jinji to accompany Yukito and Amamiya, and they left there to go to the fourth island. When Haruaki and Ibuki arrived there, they saw the gradual spread of lava coming out of the volcano, so they immediately used their power and tried to stop it. They thought that they had successfully calmed the volcano, but it suddenly erupted. It was here that the fire dragon appeared in front of them and wanted to attack. Fortunately, the barrier prevented it. They took this opportunity to perform the dragon pacifying ritual. After a few moments, Ibuki fell to his knees when he weakened, so before the ritual was completed, the barrier had been destroyed. Haruaki quickly saved Ibuki from the fire dragon's attack, but it caused them to receive the same amount of injuries. When the dragon was about to attack them again, Makoto suddenly came to stop it. Makoto would try to seal the fire dragon again to prevent the complete destruction of Ayaka. But he knew that even if he sacrificed his life, it was not even sure that he would succeed. Ibuki wanted to help him, but he just ordered Haruaki to take Ibuki away from there, which Haruaki immediately followed. After they landed on the other island, the volcano erupted again and Ibuki could do nothing. The next morning, Haruaki and Ibuki went back to the fourth island again and were very happy to see Makoto. But after a while, they realized that he was no longer alive. And Ibuki had a hard time to accept Makoto's death. Because of what happened, the misunderstanding between him and Haruaki started, and after the funeral, Ibuki immediately left the island. A few years later, Ibuki returned there who had learned some dangerous spells. One day, Yukito suddenly fell asleep while resting. He dreamed again of what he always dreamed, that he was in the depths of the water. But this time, he saw another creature, causing him to have trouble breathing, and immediately woke up. When Jinji approached him, he was shocked to see the strange color of Yukito's eyes. After a while, Yukito received a message from Shadoro. He wanted to invite him and Ibara the next week for the upcoming festival at the Kaisen Shrine. When Jinji found out, he gave him a mask because everyone who would go to the Kaisen festival wears it. He added that the mask belonged to his father. The day of the festival arrived, and when they reached the Kaisen Shrine, they saw Ibara waiting for them. Then they went to Shadoro and Yako, who were reprimanding Haruaki. They first helped them with what they were doing, and then they went for a walk and Jinji was left behind because Haruaki asked him to help in the sale. While they were walking, Yukito suddenly felt a headache. But since it was only for a moment, they continued their sightseeing and had fun at the festival. They tasted different foods and tried the fun games. Jinji could not accept that Yukito was just having fun while he was busy selling. After a few hours, Yukito felt strange again and he immediately realized that it was similar to what happened to him when he was young. Since he was afraid that he might hurt someone again, he quickly left there. While Haruaki was selling, he also felt something strange and immediately thought of Yukito. Yukito went to the training ground, and he also noticed that his shadow was acting strangely. He tried to control his power until he remembered what Jinji taught him. Because of this, he calmed himself down and successfully controlled his power. After a while, he heard a man's voice and it turned out to be his father. Makoto told him that he might face what was inside his body. Since he was wearing a mask, Yukito did not recognize his father until he left and suddenly disappeared. He went back to look for his companions, then he saw Jinji on the way who was drinking again. After he read Shadoro's message, he immediately left Jinji. The volcano suddenly erupted, and while the others were worried, Jinji just smiled because what he was expecting was about to happen. Inu immediately made an announcement to calm everyone down and send them to the square. Then he told Amamiya and the others to take care of everyone on the island so that he could return to the office and carry out the plan. When the sun rose, Haruaki toured the shrine, and when he arrived at the training ground, he saw what happened to Yukito. The residents were able to leave the third island safely, but they were asked to immediately prepare for evacuation. Yukito and Amamiya had returned to their house, but Jinji had not come home yet. A few minutes later, the people from the second island started to evacuate, and Yukito helped Amamiya to assist them. Meanwhile, Ibuki was also preparing to go to the fourth island. Because of the effect of Aramitama on his body, Ibara was worried about him. She wanted to come with him, but he did not allow her. That was the moment when Ibuki understood their master's feelings when he also told him that he wanted to help Makoto during those time. When Yukito finished boarding the people on the third boat, Haruaki and his students arrived there. He asked Amamiya if he could take Yukito for a while. When they were far away from the dock, Haruaki decided to speak the truth to Yukito. But before he said this, he began telling the story of what happened 15 years ago when the power of the water dragon had weakened. At this time, he was not aware of these things, but Makoto was trying to restore the power of the water dragon using a ritual. After performing the ritual, he temporarily transformed it into a new form. Through this, the water dragon would be able to regain his previous power. He believed that the new form that was created from the ritual was Yukito. This was the reason why Yukito possessed inexplicable strength and his ability to use water energy. In order for him to confirm that Yukito was indeed the water dragon, he and Yukito put their palms together. After they did this, they found the truth and there was no doubt that Yukito was indeed the water dragon. But Haruaki's view of Yukito still had not changed, and he still see him as a 15-year-old boy with only strong powers. But he only had one request to Yukito, and that was for him to grow up healthy and continue his training, so that one day he could achieve things and be the person he was truly meant to be. After what he said to Yukito, he told Shadoro and Yako to evacuate with Amamiya, because he was going to the fourth island to do what his master had done before. When Haruaki left, Yukito still could not believe what he discovered. And he was thankful that Shadoro and Yako did not change their views on him. He realized and felt that he had found the home where he fit in, and he did not want to lose it anymore. So he wanted to help save Ayaka, but for Shadoro, they might just be a hindrance on their master's plan. That was when Yako started to think about what Haruaki was planning to do. They realized that he also intended to sacrifice himself like what Makoto did to save Ayaka. Suddenly, Ibara came there with the intention of following Ibuki to the fourth island. Upon knowing this, Yukito's decision to go to the fourth island had been decided. At night, when Haruaki arrived at the fourth island, he immediately started the ritual, and shortly after, Ibuki also arrived there. While they were arguing about who would face the fire dragon, the volcano suddenly exploded and the fire dragon appeared to them. Ibuki immediately brought out his arbiter's executioner and attacked it. But he was not able to harm the dragon, and when he was being attacked, Ibuki was quickly saved by Haruaki. Haruaki tried to attack the dragon, but it did not work either. They attacked at the same time, but after a few moments, it suddenly attacked Ibuki, which he was unable to avoid. That was when they realized that it was a complete Aramitama. When it attacked them again, Yukito came there and created a barrier to block it. Haruaki immediately scolded them, but according to Yukito, they were also students of Makoto. Because of the situation, Ibuki assigned them to be his and Haruaki's backup. Haruaki could not do anything, but let their students do what they wanted. They faced the fire dragon again and worked together to attack it. But it still had not been shaken no matter what attack they did. Haruaki decided to use Makoto's technique to try to seal it again, but the dragon easily escaped from the chains. That was the moment when Ibuki transformed into Aramitama, and with the help of Haruaki, he sped up even more, causing the fire dragon not to see his attacks. But they still were unable to hurt the creature. So Haruaki decided to keep Yukito and the others away from there. Yukito could not accept that he could not do anything, even though he knew that he was the water dragon. It was here that Jinji appeared to them, and asked Yukito if he wanted to regain his power as a water dragon. It turned out that he had known for a long time that the missing water dragon was in Yukito. Long ago, they were still young when he found out about it. One day, while he was teaching Yukito to walk, Yukito suddenly activated his power as a water dragon. Fortunately, Makoto saw them and he quickly stopped the power of his son. Makoto thought that it would be dangerous for Jinji if he would not know about Yukito's true identity, so he decided to tell him everything. But he forbade him not to tell Haruaki and Ibuki about it. He also found out that there was a possibility for Yukito to regain his power as a water dragon. And according to Makoto, if Yukito reached Haruaki's age, he might be able to control his power and maintain his form as a human, even if his full power returned. So Makoto also asked Inu that if something bad happened to him, he must keep Yukito away from Ayaka Island until he turned 15 years old. Among all of them, Jinji was the only one who knew about Yukito's true identity, so he knew that Makoto had a reason why he asked Inu to do this, and it was better that they just follow it. When Yukito left Ayaka Island, Jinji immediately looked for Makoto's writings about the water dragon. When he read the spell that would restore Yukito's power as a water dragon, he discovered that in exchange, it would cost the caster's life. However, he studied it secretly because he knew that the day would come when he would need it. This was the reason why he preferred to always have fun and do everything that he wanted to do in his life, because he knew that the day would come when he would need to sacrifice his life for Yukito. After he asked Yukito, Yukito did not hesitate to tell him that he wanted the power back. As soon as Jinji started the spell, Haruaki saw it, and he tried to stop it. When Yukito opened his eyes, he and Jinji were in another dimension that was full of ley energy. Jinji held his hand and they jumped together. After he saw the water dragon, Jinji suddenly disappeared beside him. So when Jinji fell to the ground in the reality, Yukito regained his power and transformed into a water dragon. The two dragons faced each other and exchanged attacks, so Haruaki was forced to create a barrier to keep themselves safe from the fire. They still could not believe that Yukito was the water dragon they were seeing in front of them. Haruaki knew that the two dragons were not fighting, but were just trying to restore their harmony. But they wondered if Yukito would be able to return to being human if they restore their unity, or if he would just return to ley energy as a water dragon. After a few moments, Yukito spoke to the fire dragon and apologized to him for being weak, that he suddenly disappeared. The fire dragon immediately understood this, causing his Aramitama to disappear. When the Matamas appeared, the unity of the two dragons had been done, and this caused the volcano to calm down. After a while, Ibara saw Yukito next to Jinji, so they immediately approached them. Yukito tried to wake Jinji up, but when Haruaki touched him, he realized that Jinji was gone. Haruaki took him to their house, so Amamiya also found out what happened to Jinji. While the funeral was being held, Yukito was just in the room and locked himself in it. Haruaki approached Ibuki, and they talked about Yukito being a water dragon. Then Ibuki wondered where Jinji learned the spell. It was here that Haruaki showed a book that Amamiya found when she cleaned Jinji's room. It was written in this book how the ancient lay master was able to bring back the water dragon in exchange for his life. Haruaki had a suspicion that since their master passed away, Jinji must have studied it to save Ayaka Island, even though he also knew that his life would be in exchange for it. Amamiya tried to talk to Yukito, who also still could not accept Jinji's death. He blamed himself, because if he had been able to become a water dragon on his own, this would not have happened to Jinji. Amamiya tried to comfort him and said that he should not blame himself, because if Jinji did it on purpose, he knew that it was the only way to help. Then she also told him that Jinji might be sad if he did not show up there. A few minutes later, after Amamiya left, a Mitama passed by in his room. He followed it, and it was heading to Jinji's body. When Yukito approached him, he could not stop himself and shouted at Jinji to wake up. Here he suddenly went to the dimension that was full of ley energy. After a few moments, he saw Jinji calling him. He was surprised why he was there, and was asking for his help. When he woke up, Amamiya and Inu arrived just in time. He immediately told them the possibility that Jinji's life could be returned. Then he left the house to go to the fourth island. He was able to transform into a water dragon, so Haruaki and Ibuki felt him too. When he reached the fourth island, he immediately dived into it and entered the dimension of ley energy again. He tried to find Jinji there until he saw a creature that also disappeared immediately. After a while, Makoto appeared to him. This time, he recognized Makoto, so he also removed his mask. This was when he explained everything to Yukito and why he asked Inu to keep him away from Ayaka Island, especially in the fourth island. After he said everything that he wanted to say to him, they discussed Yukito's purpose of coming there in order to save Jinji. Since he also knew where Jinji was, he took Yukito with him to see Jinji. Haruaki and his students had also reached the fourth island, and while he was performing a ritual, an Aramitama suddenly appeared. When it was about to attack them, it was immediately shot by Ibuki who had just arrived with Ibara. After a while, many Aramitama showed up to them. So Ibuki and the others decided to fight the creatures, while Haruaki was finishing the ritual. When Yukito arrived at Jinji's location, they found him drowning in ley energy. Yukito immediately helped him, but their problem was how they would get out of there. After a while, Yukito suddenly heard something and they also noticed a light. They went to it, thinking that it was the way out of there. When Yukito tried to touch it, Haruaki tracked them down. They talked for a while and then they were asked to follow the light. Before they left, Makoto hugged them to say goodbye. Then he pushed them to the light, and he also disappeared. Haruaki instructed Ibuki to dive into the other dimension to save Yukito and Jinji. As he struggled, he successfully inserted his hand and grabbed Yukito. But because of the ley energy, he let go of his hand and it was here that Yukito saw the creature that he saw earlier. This was the fire dragon who was sad because he was leaving. So he made him a promise that he would also return, because he would live on the other island. After their conversation, Ibuki grabbed him again, and this time he successfully pulled them out. When he regained consciousness, Haruaki showed him what was currently happening in their house. When Amamiya was about to put a drink, she was shocked when Jinji suddenly got up. Inu also came here, who was also very surprised after seeing that Jinji had come back to life. Because of this, Yukito just laughed at their reactions. In the morning, Jinji was visited by his friends and other people who cared for him after they found out about his resurrection. They did not waste any time and immediately started drinking. This is the end of the last episode of Ayaka. I hope you like it and give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss newly uploaded videos. Thank you for watching.